While I was on a gurney waiting for surgery, my mom texted, "Your sister needs you to walk her dog this week." I replied, "I'm literally being wheeled into an oar." She texted back, "Don't be selfish." I said nothing. I just opened my laptop and removed my name from sister's tuition payments. That night my sister called 34 times. The nurse was adjusting my floor when my phone buzzed. I wasn't supposed to have it on me, but I kept it tucked under the thin blanket. I checked it without thinking, expecting a good luck, or maybe nothing at all. It was from my mom. "Your sister needs you to walk her dog this week." I read it twice. I was in a hospital gown on a gurney, moments from being rolled into surgery to have a tumor removed from my spine. They had explained all the risks: loss of mobility, nerve damage, infection. I'd written out emergency contacts and signed a DNR. And now, right before they cut me open, my mom wanted to talk about dog walking. I replied, "I'm literally being wheeled into the oar." The response came almost instantly. "Don't be selfish." That was the exact moment something broke in me. And not in a dramatic way. It was quiet, sharp, final. Like hearing a door click shut from the inside. I didn't reply. I didn't cry. I asked the nurse if she could hand me my laptop from the bottom of the bag under the gurney. She hesitated, then passed it to me. I logged in to the tuition payment portal for Madison's college. I found the auto-pay schedule I'd set up last spring when Mom called crying, saying she just couldn't afford it anymore. I'd been covering it ever since. Over $19,000 total. Madison never said thank you because as far as she knew, Mom was the one footing the bill. 2 clicks. Remove card. Done. No more tuition payments. They rolled me into the OR 12 minutes later. I woke up groggy and in pain. My back felt like it had been run over. A nurse was saying something about the biopsy taking a few days. I asked for my phone. 34 missed calls from Madison. Not one said, "How did the surgery go?" Or, "Are you okay?" It was all, "What did you do? Why isn't the payment going through? Are you serious right now? Fix this or I swear to God." I stared at the screen for a long time before I put it down. Then I just sat there listening to the machines around me, thinking about how many years I'd let them treat me like an afterthought. The next day, Madison showed up at the hospital. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask what the doctor said. She didn't even sit down. She came to scream. Madison walked into my hospital room like I'd stolen something from her. No flowers. No, "How are you?" She didn't even look at the monitors or the fact that I was still hooked up 2 and 4. She dropped her tote bag on the floor, crossed her arms, and launched straight in like it was my office hours and she was here to lodge a complaint. She said financial aid wouldn't cover the gap, that the payment bounced and now she had a hold on her account. She was being dropped from classes if it wasn't fixed by the end of the week. Her housing situation was up in the air. She could lose her spot. Her internship at some PR firm downtown? Gone if she couldn't stay enrolled. All of it apparently my fault. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was still trying to sit up without crying from the pain in my back. It felt like I'd been sewn back together with fishing line. The morphine wasn't helping anymore. My head was spinning, but she didn't care. She was too busy listing every way I'd ruined her life. She kept saying it over and over. "You ruined my life. You screwed everything up. You did this on purpose." I didn't even bother defending myself. I just watched her, really watched her, this person I had covered for, sacrificed for, paid for, the person I protected growing up. And all she saw was a roadblock between her and her Instagram version of success. Then she said it. "You just want people to feel bad for you. You love being the victim. It's like a hobby for you. The surgery left you paralyzed. I bet you'd actually enjoy it. Then you'd have a real excuse to make everything about you." That one landed. Not because it hurt. Because it confirmed everything I already knew. She didn't love me. She didn't even see me. And she wasn't done. Honestly, if you didn't wake up, Mom and I would have been devastated. Yeah, but at least you wouldn't be screwing everything up like this. I looked at her. For the first time in years, I really looked. And I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. She left after that. Didn't slam the door. Didn't cry. Just picked up her bag, said something about, "Fix this or I swear to God," and walked out like the victim of the whole thing. That night I didn't sleep. The nurses came in to check vitals, the machines beeped, the hallway lights stayed on like it was always morning. I lay there and stared at the cracks in the ceiling tile above me and thought about how many times I'd bailed her out. All those tuition payments. The rent that Mom forgot to cover. The deposits I made on her behalf, pretending they were loans, even though we both knew she'd never pay them back. The gas money. The late-night Uber when she was too drunk to get home. The lies I told to cover for her when she disappeared for a weekend and her fiancé texted me. The fiancé. I opened my laptop around 4 a.m. The hospital Wi-Fi was garbage, but it worked well enough. I started searching for private investigators in her city. Not mine, hers. I found a guy with a boring website and great reviews. Nothing flashy. Just results. I sent a single message. My sister's name is Madison. She lives in Chicago. She's engaged. I'd like to know who she's seeing behind his back. I added the dates she said she was in New York for work last fall. A few locations she had posted from. That was all he needed. He got back to me within 2 days. And when I saw the photos he sent, I didn't feel anything at first. Not surprise. Not shock. Not even satisfaction. Just confirmation. There she was. Holding hands with a guy who wasn't her fiancé. Same guy from 3 different nights. Same bar. Same apartment complex. Same story she told us about late hours at the office. The final picture was them kissing on the sidewalk. And suddenly I knew exactly what I was going to do. I didn't confront Madison. I didn't call my mom. I didn't send a dramatic text or hint that I knew anything. I learned a long time ago that warning people like them only gives them time to rewrite the story. I waited. The private investigator sent everything in one folder. Photos. Dates. Times. A short summary written like a grocery list. How often they met. Where. How long she stayed over. The pattern was obvious. This wasn't a mistake or a one-time thing. This was a second life. Her fiancé's name was Andrew. He worked in finance. Old money. Polite. The kind of guy who always stood up when someone entered the room. When Madison introduced him to the family, my mom couldn't stop bragging. She told everyone he was the reason Madison was finally set for life. I had his email. I got it months earlier when my mom asked me to help draft wedding invitations because Madison was too stressed. I still had the spreadsheet. I waited until I was discharged from the hospital. Until I was back in my apartment with stitches in my back and pain meds lined up on the counter. Until my phone stopped lighting up with blocked call attempts from my mom using unknown numbers. Then I sent the email. No message. No explanation. Just the folder attached and one line. You deserve to know who you are about to marry. He replied 4 hours later. Just one sentence. Thank you for telling me. That was it. The fallout was immediate. Madison called me from a different number this time. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that jumped from rage to panic to bargaining in under a minute. She said Andrew wasn't answering. She said he had canceled the venue tour they were supposed to do that weekend. She said I was trying to destroy her out of jealousy. My mom showed up at my apartment the next morning. She didn't knock. She pounded. I didn't open the door. She yelled through it. Asked what kind of daughter does this. Told me I was heartless. Told me Madison was inconsolable. Told me Andrew's family was furious and threatening legal action over deposits. She never asked how my back was healing. She never asked if I was in pain. She just kept saying I'd gone too far. That was when I realized something important. To them, I was only allowed to exist as long as I was useful. The wedding was officially called off 2 days later. Madison lost the apartment Andrew had leased for them. She moved back in with my mom. The tuition issue still wasn't resolved. Her school dropped her classes at the end of the week. And suddenly the money problems they'd been ignoring for years were very real. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. I changed my number. I closed the joint account my mom still had access to. I booked a one-way flight to a city I'd always wanted to live in but never felt allowed to. A week later, I packed my apartment slowly, carefully, with my back still healing and my phone blissfully silent. The last thing I did before leaving was forward one final email to my mom. It was a screenshot of her text from the hospital. Don't be selfish. I never heard from either of them again. The first week after I moved, I kept expecting something to happen. Some dramatic interruption. A call from a number I didn't recognize. An email marked urgent. A knock on the door. When you grow up managing other people's chaos, peace feels suspicious. But nothing came. I was in a small sublet across the country, The kind of place that smells faintly like old books and dust no matter how much you clean. I slept on a mattress on the floor because my furniture was still in transit. My back hurt constantly, but it was a clean kind of pain. The kind that made sense. I started physical therapy 3 times a week. The therapist didn't know my family history. She didn't know I'd been the emergency contact since I was a teenager. To her, I was just another patient trying to get strength back. That was new for me. Being nobody. 2 weeks in, I checked my email out of habit and saw a message from Andrew. He didn't ask questions. He didn't accuse me of anything. He just said he'd confirmed everything on his own and thanked me again for not letting him walk into a marriage built on lies. He said Madison had tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, then as my jealousy, then as a conspiracy between me and the investigator. None of it worked. He said the trust his family had set aside for the wedding was frozen. The apartment lease was terminated. The joint accounts they'd opened were closed. I closed the email and didn't respond. Around that time, my mom tried one last angle. She sent a letter. An actual handwritten letter, forwarded from my old address. I almost didn't open it. Curiosity won. It was 3 pages long. Mostly about how stressed she was. How embarrassed she felt. How Madison wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, wasn't herself anymore. She wrote that families forgive, that blood is blood, that I needed to stop punishing everyone for one misunderstanding. There was one sentence about my surgery. Just one. I hope you're healing. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she'd said. No recognition of why I'd finally stopped. I didn't reply. A month later, I heard through a cousin that my mom had taken out a loan to try to get Madison back into school. It didn't work. Her grades were too far gone. The loan payments piled up anyway. The house they lived in went on the market not long after. I felt something when I heard that. Not guilt. Not relief. Distance. The kind that lets you breathe without checking who else is drowning. I found a job that paid less but didn't drain me. I made friends who didn't need anything from me except my company. I learned how to say no without explaining myself. Sometimes I still think about that moment on the gurney. The text. How small it was. How easy it would have been to brush it off like I always did. But that text didn't start anything. It just ended the lie. 3 months passed before I heard anything else about them. I wasn't looking. I had muted every number, deleted every email thread, blocked them both on every app. But my cousin Jess, one of the few decent ones, sent me a message. All it said was, "They're crashing hard. Just thought you should know." She didn't mean it like gossip. She meant it like warning. I didn't respond right away, but later that night I opened her message again and typed, "What happened?" Jess replied with a wall of texts. Madison had tried to enroll in a local community college to salvage her credits, but couldn't afford it. The school wouldn't release her transcripts because of the unpaid tuition balance at state. No payment plan. No grace period. No degree. She applied for a few jobs but kept turning them down when they weren't aligned with her goals. Andrew had sent their story quietly viral in their friend group. Screenshots. Photos. Timeline. Madison was unofficially blacklisted. Everyone unfollowed her. She lost the wedding deals, the sponsorships she had lined up for influencer content. Apparently, she'd been planning to monetize the wedding. She tried to start a GoFundMe for mental health recovery. It got shared around in group chats as a joke. Mom didn't fare better. After the house went on the market, she moved into a small apartment an hour outside the city. She stopped calling relatives. One of them said she was trying to sue me for sabotage, but no lawyer would take her case. Another said she blamed me for breaking the family. Neither of them had looked for work in years. They had depended on one version of me for so long. Quiet, reliable, paying. That version didn't exist anymore. And they didn't know how to operate without her. Jess ended her text with something I wasn't expecting. "You did the right thing. I hope you know that." I stared at that line for a long time. Because even now, I still had to remind myself that doing the right thing doesn't always feel like peace. Sometimes it feels like silence. Sometimes it feels like a weight you've carried so long, it takes months to notice it's gone. And sometimes, when you stop holding up someone else's world, it finally collapses. And all you can do is watch it fall and not step in. Because you already did. For years. And they watched you drown with your hands full. 6 months after the surgery, I was sitting at a cafe, laptop open, a light rain tapping against the window. I had a scar on my back and a balance in my bank account that finally belonged to me. I was working part-time, freelancing on the side, and for once I wasn't stretched thin. I didn't think about them often anymore. Not because I forgot, because I no longer needed to check the damage every morning to make sure it was real. Then an email came through. The subject line just said, Emily. My name. No last name. No other words. It was from Madison. I almost deleted it. My hand hovered over the trash icon. But something made me open it just once before letting it go. The message was short. I lost everything. Are you happy now? That was it. No hello. No apology. No question about how I was or what had happened after the hospital. Just those words, like they were supposed to reverse the timeline. I didn't reply. Not out of revenge. Because I truly had nothing left to say. They had shown me everything I needed to know the day I went into surgery. Not with shouting, not with drama, but with silence. With a phone that didn't ring to say good luck. With texts that talked about dogs and chores while I was being sliced open. With a sister who stood at my bedside and said it would have been better if I never woke up. That was the truth. No revision. No rewrite. No edit button. And when someone shows you what you are to them, a wallet, a backup plan, a ghost who pays bills quietly, you either accept it and keep dying in pieces, or you leave. I left. I never answered her email. I closed it, blocked the address, and opened a new document for work. The rain had stopped. The cafe got quiet. I sat there and kept typing like nothing happened. Because nothing had. Just a message from someone who mistook consequences for cruelty. Somewhere, my mom and sister were trying to rebuild. Or maybe they weren't. Maybe they were still blaming, still rewriting the story, still waiting for me to return to my role. But that role is gone. There's no way back in. That day on the gurney, they thought I was the selfish one. But they were wrong. That was the first time in my life I chose myself. And I never looked back.